afternoon, everybody. I'm very happy to welcome everyone to our conversation here this afternoon. So, first of all, why are we here? This week is Global Money Week. Global Money Week is an annual global awareness raising campaign ensuring that young people are financially aware and are gradually acquiring the knowledge, skills, and attitudes necessary to make sound financial decisions. We as the FBI are participating in this week as an affiliate of not only the Financial Planning Standards Board in the US, but also on a local level in conjunction with the efforts of the Financial Sector Conduct Authority. The theme for this year is Plan Your Money, Plant Your Future. So this theme focuses on sustainability and to raise awareness on the implications of your financial behavior, not only on yourself, but also on the environment and the society. This theme should prompt young people to be more forward-looking and to also have a broad view on the environment as well as the society in their financial decisions. Now, who I have got here with me today are two of our certified financial planner professionals. The first is Luke Martins. He is also a member of our Young Financial Planners organization. And then we've got Mona Manzambi, who is also a certified financial planner professional. And she is also the winner of our 2022 Diversity and Inclusion Prize at the FBI, or the award rather, not a prize. So let's get going. You will see that I am not quite as young as the other two people joining me here online, but we really need their input, given that this is aimed at the youth. So, Luke, we all know that there's a lot of buzz in the investment world regarding ESG. Could you please explain what ESG is and how it's affecting the investment landscape?
So I think ESG is more of a way of having a look at how investors, individuals, corporates direct their investments. It's having a look at the environmental impact of those kinds of investment, the social impact and the governance impact of those particular kind of investments. And it's really to overlay and say, okay, how are we directing our capital and are we managing to address these kinds of key social issues? The idea behind that is to be future thinking, because in essence, this environment and this world, we want to try and invest in it today in order for our children and future generations to at least reap the benefits of sort of the destruction and everything that's been happening. So we have to have a different view as to how we invest our capital and how we direct our capital.
So practically, if I want to know whether the company that I'm investing in is responsible, how do I go about it?
It is quite a difficult one. So in essence, let's have a look at an individual investor. Somebody who might be investing in unit trust or in company funds. There are people that give companies that give individual ratings to particular funds around these ESG issues, and you can have a look at those rankings and obviously invest accordingly. Obviously, the difficulty in that is you don't quite have the depth of sort of clarity as to where that capital is going. You're relying on professionals, hopefully, that will give you a measure as to how we invest our capital. So that's probably the best bet for an individual if you are an investor, you want to put some money away. And which funds do you want to try? But obviously, all of this kind of stuff, you need to do it in conversation with your CFP professional, somebody who is a professional who can give you a proper view and an overlay as to actually how do we direct our capital.
Thank you, Luke. Mona, so they say that the younger generations are much more interested in things like, preserving the environment, much more conscious about things like social issues and how to be a responsible social citizen. However, in South Africa, is ESG really such a big motivator when it comes to investing and saving and the youth?
Oh, Nikki, thank you for that question. When you think of answering that question, the answer can be so versatile, only because like even the topic ESG itself, many people have different thoughts towards it and different understanding about it. As Luke mentioned, it touches on the environment, on social, and on governance. And then when you look at the factors that make up those three different components, under environmental, you have like pollution and animal welfare. Under social, you have like community engagement, human rights, employee compensation. Under governance, you look at stuff such as corporate governance, diversities, and how companies manage those that are at the top. Is there diversity there? And when you're looking at it in the case of South Africa, what makes it challenging is that, you know, the country is characterized as a country that has high levels of inequality. So you'd find that for one group of people, ESG would be a priority because of the standard of living and what they're exposed to. But then you find for another set of people that ESG, not that it's not important, but it's not a pressing matter. It's not an urgent matter for them now. And so when they're looking for where to invest, how to invest, for them, what they're more concerned about is what will maximize my profits, what will maximize my capital. And so they might not necessarily be not bothered, but not actively concerned with how companies are generating their returns, as Luke mentioned. And another comment I could make is you've got different rating agencies that rate companies ESGs, and you can find a huge disparity with one company because of how the different rating agencies monitor them. And then when you look at the landscape of South Africa, the pressing issues could be we've got very low levels of retirement readiness. Since we're talking, we're financial planners, we should touch on that. We have got high levels of black tax or family responsibility, for lack of a better word. We've got an energy crisis. We've got high levels of unemployment, low levels of financial literacy, and all of this impacts one ability to invest. So I think before we can touch on, in the case of South Africa, matters of ESG, something that will be more beneficial to the population or to individuals is what is a pressing matter at home. But that is not to say we shouldn't raise awareness of, you know, sustainable investing and the likes, but is that the the most pressing issue at hand for South Africans or individuals in South Africa? I'd say I don't think so.
Mona, I absolutely agree with you. I think one thing we need to focus on, even in a global context where saving for the youth is important, is that we in South Africa have very uniquely South African issues. And as you touched on it, I think 61% of youth between 15 and 24 are currently unemployed. That is 2 out of every 3 young people in South Africa who are actively looking for work, who
Yeah.
are unemployed. And it is very difficult to focus on something like ESG if your main problem is that you cannot find employment.
Yeah.
Luke, any comments on how we can address savings and investments in in the light of all of these issues that our youth in South Africa are dealing with?
So I think that the most pressing thing, I guess, is employment really in South Africa, because in essence, if you haven't got a rand, if you're not generating income, you can't save anything.
That's
And
true.
so I think that in your introduction, you spoke a little bit about attitudes. I do think it's a mindset shift as to how do we think differently about this thing. I think the one thing that we need to think differently about in South Africa is obviously how do we create employment. Your best bet is obviously for people to that entrepreneurship and that entrepreneurship spirit, you know. And I think that certainly education around that area is important, because I think that there will be a greater drive for people to actually look for their own way and means to try and source an income. And obviously, for the ones that are starting out, that are starting to get into this world, obviously we need to ask the important questions around how is our capital being allocated. Often very difficult, especially if you are working for an employer, and even the fund selection is decided by trustees, and you have limitations around those. Certainly, I think we can ask the key questions. But there is something that's quite important, that let's just say, for example, you have low levels of income, and you maybe are not employed at all. There are things that you can do that don't require a lot of capital, or don't require you to have capital. The first one, if I am under the age of 24 and unemployed, the one thing that I have is I can hold the people that are in governance accountable. And how do I do that? That's by voting and holding those people to say, okay, my vote means that I want this and I want these issues addressed. The one thing that's a big issue in South Africa is that that demographic is the one that has the lowest sort of voter turnout. In South Africa, although it's the greatest part of the population, it's actually your older people that are voting in this country. So I don't have a single rand, but the one thing I can do is actually decide and how and who I put into governance, in essence, can hold those people accountable. The other bit being is obviously I think that we need to think differently, although I might not be investing around how I'm using energy where I am. I think in South Africa, the one key thing is that, we need to think differently about how we use transport and how, in essence, how we use energy in the home, because we know that our energy is provided, in essence, vast majority from fossil fuels. So how do we then reallocate the energy? How do we think differently about lighting our homes and all of that kind of stuff? So I think that's quite important in the space that you're in, and that although you are maybe a part of the youth, you might not have employment or you're just starting out. I think that making those changes early out in your careers to actually how do we allocate energy in our home is actually a step in the right direction. I think as we generate income and we start to generate income, then we can start to have conversations with our professional financial planners around actually how do we allocate this capital. Because the one thing is also that's a little bit of a misperception is that, okay, that I won't get those returns. And in essence, if I invest in things that have ESG, there is no correlation really. It's around actually how is my overall plan going to provide for my goals, dreams, and aspirations really, and allocating capital accordingly.
Very good points, Luke. And I want to link on to something that Mona said earlier. And Mona, I'm going to ask you a very difficult question now. So let's see if you can answer this one. You raised the issue of black tax, and for in the lack of better words, it is having the responsibility to look after your extended family. I think we call it the sandwich generation, where we still
Yes.
have kids in school, and we also have to look after our elderly parents. So it's you have got an extended family that you have to look out for. How do you, as a young person who's just starting out, balance the fact that you have to look after yourself and you have to save for things like retirement? I want to buy a property, get your own life going, versus the responsibilities that are expected of you in terms of your greater family, and not just family, your society around you. How do you even approach that?
I think that question can have a wide variety of answers, but I think something that can be applied across the board is, I think a lot of mistakes that a lot of individuals that are benefactors of Black tax, i.e., or family responsibilities, i.e., they provide the financial assistance, is that it is an expense. It should be accounted for as an expense in your budget. Many young people are not budgeting. They get their money and then they're just spending, but they don't know where their money is going. So I think the starting point is identifying with family responsibility as an expense item on your budget or spending plan, and having that spending plan in place and communicating to the people that are dependent on you that, you know what, this is how much I'm able to contribute and that I will be contributing going forward. Should the situation change, it can be relooked at in the future, but it would be unreasonable for you to expect more from me than what I have pledged or what I have agreed to. So I think it's managing expectations. And many people have fallen into the trap of yes, 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 because they want to be seen as the hero in the family, but they're forgetting that if they don't learn to say no, and if they don't learn to manage these expectations, they are just building a life for themselves where they in turn will now be depending on their children, and they're trapped in that poverty cycle or that family responsibility cycle. So it's not don't help the family, it is I will help, but communicate what the expectation is so that people don't come to you for everything. And then number two, it's in spite or even with having this family responsibility within your spending plan, you need to make allocation towards your long-term savings, earmarked towards retirement. You can't just forget about this and say you're going to look at it when you're much older. You need to maximize the impact and the beauty of compounding interest. Many people don't understand that, and that can be attributed to the low levels of financial literacy, people not understanding basic concepts of financial decision making. And that's where it starts, understanding and educating yourself on the small concepts like in inflation, time value of money, compounding, how it affects you. And it doesn't matter how small you start with, but like what Luke says, it all starts with a mindset. When you build a mindset of saving, at least you're actively thinking about that. So that is
Thank,
what I'd say. It's a serious challenge, shouldn't be ignored, but people need to learn to have conversations about it. And I think that's what's lacking. Yeah.
Mona, I cannot agree with you more. One of the focuses at FPI is consumer education. And we are looking at financial literacy levels in South Africa that is very, very low. And you touched on something that really is the main focus and that everybody should be able to do, but you never taught, and that is budgeting.
Yeah.
Now, Luke, how can a financial planner or financial advisor assist you if you don't understand any of this? Where do you get the help to make sure that you just get the basic things in place and to understand the very basics of investing, interest, like Mona said, and those type of things, and budgeting, because it can be a difficult exercise if you've never done it before.
Yes. So absolutely, I agree with you on that one. So I think the first step for anybody is just to make contact with a professional financial planner. And I think the first part about it, that relationship is quite important. The more you disclose, the better that relationship is with your financial planner. Because in essence, your financial planner plays three important roles, right? They are an educator,
Mhm.
there are a coach and a sounding board. In essence, they walk that journey, and obviously they have technical expertise that they'll play off against those things. So I think that in that conversation, to be very transparent around, okay, I don't really know what this world is about. I don't know how to save. I don't know how to budget. That level of transparency is such a good place to start in building a relationship with a financial planner. Quite often it's quite difficult because you're expected to know, because
Yeah.
you earn money, so surely you must know how money works and how savings works, and so you might even be part of a pension fund, so there's that expectation that you should know how it works. But important to have that kind of disclosure, starting off that conversation with somebody. They can direct you and educate you and partner with you appropriately. But without that in place. The other part about it is actually in we have access to a wide range of information. So that's the other part about it. Self-study is important. There's quite a wide variety of resources. Even the FPR to a certain extent with My Money 123 has a wide variety of freely available resources that I as an individual can access. So in essence, you have the FPR, that is a trusted institution that you might be able to look what's available there. But in essence, even big institutions give out information freely, and so I think that educating yourself is important. But you don't want to make decisions outside of actually consulting somebody who is a professional. So there is that fine balance of actually I need to learn myself, but I also need to find somebody who's trusted and have an open and transparent relationship with that person as to actually, and then what's going to help you in that relationship. They'll provide you with the tools and the means to actually start with how does a basic budget work, and how do we understand what is in our bank statements, and how do we take that and transfer it and get a better sense of where we are in our financial situation.
Absolutely. And I think, Luke, there's something else that a financial advisor or financial planner can assist you with. And that is just to cut through all the information that is available, because everything is at your fingertips. And I want to ask Mona to explain how to make sure that the person you're listening to is credible. Because if I look at TikTok, and I've got a son that's 17, so I personally am too old to be on TikTok, but he is. and all the financial advice that is available out there, and all the scams and things that you can see immediately, you're not going to get your money back here. How do you cut through all of that? What do you do?
For
Mona, any
me,
ideas?
literally for me, the best advice I would give to people that resort to social media for information is first and foremost, the person that's giving this advice or this tip or whatever it is, look out for the CFP designation. For me, that's my safety net. CFP designation basically means a person that has been stamped and approved, has the approval to give this financial advice or financial information, and they've taken various precautions before providing that information to the public. So for me, the safety precaution will be, is this person you're listening to, are they a certified financial planner? And you'll see it, they'd most probably put that on their bio. And if they don't have that, maybe doing some research to find out if they are a certified financial planner. You've got LinkedIn, which you can also check and search for them. And if they're not, then just know to take what they say with a pinch of salt, like what they say. Take it with like a pinch of salt. Don't don't hold it as a holy grail. It will be more it will be more to your benefit or less detrimental if the person is a certified financial planner and has that designation posted on their bio. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely agreed. We have got on the FPI's My Money 123 website. That's www.fpimymoney123. You can actually go and search for a professional member of FPI who will be able to help you and assist you in these areas. But even having said that, I know many people are scared to sit in front of a person, a financial planner, financial advisor, to ask for assistance. And much of it has got to do with the way that financial advisors are perceived in the communities as only someone who's going to come and sell you something. We're going to sell you a policy, for example, or whatever you need, an investment, or so on and so forth. Luke, if you can just maybe explain what a financial advisor, financial planner will do for you and how the product fits into that. Because what questions should you ask this person that you contact to make sure that you get the advice that you need and is not just a tick on a commission box at the end?
Yes, and I think this one, there's so much, I think, in it, but I want to try and distill it down to one simple thing, really. And I think it makes it a lot easier to remember. I think what you should ask for is a financial plan, right? And the reason why we want to ask for a financial plan, the purpose of a financial plan is you're going to sit down with your financial planner. You're going to talk about what you want to try and achieve, your goals, your dreams, your aspirations. I want to educate my children. I want to retire comfortably. And these are the kinds of conversations you want to have. It's actually more of a laugh out of what you want, out of it, out of your money and your relationship with your money. And so what a financial planner will do, he'll sit down and will take into account all that information, right? On the basis of that information, he'll put together a plan. So this is where you are, and this is where we want to be, and this is how we're going to take the steps in getting there. So that's really what a financial plan will be. It'll give you a snapshot of a long-term view around how we're going to meet all these different goals and dreams and aspirations, and he would have taken that into account, right? On that basis, now that we understand that this is where we are, this is where we want to try and get to, he might make then recommendations as to, okay, these are the appropriate financial products that will help us to get from where we are to where we want to be. So I think that to ask for it, to say, I want a financial plan, this is what my financial plan needs to do for me, and in essence also get a copy of. So that's in essence what you're holding on to. That's the plan. That's your, in essence, what you want to try and refer to every year is, are we going to meet all these different dreams and aspirations over this period of time that we want to try and get to? So in essence is to make sure there is one in place. Obviously, there are a couple of red flags. As if we get to a product without a plan, there's a red flag right there. So in essence, for
Yeah.
me, the easiest thing for anybody to ask for from a financial planner is to ask for a financial plan.
And if I may add to that, I was just thinking for those that are shy to approach a financial planner or whatnot, I think the way you can look at it is imagine you're facing some symptoms in your body, you're not feeling okay. The first thing that comes to mind is, oh, I need to go and see a doctor. Why? Because the doctor is in a better position to analyze what you're going through, to look at your the various symptoms, and then to prescribe something to help you feel better or get back to your normal state. And I think people need to start seeing financial planners in the same light. We are the money doctors, if you can call it that. It's okay if you don't understand the money concepts. It's not a sin, but that is why we're here. We're here to help you, get you on your feet. Luke mentioned the three different roles that the financial planner plays. One of them is the educator. So if you see them as that, like, okay, I don't know what's going on, but they are in the position to help me, I think that will shift your outlook and hopefully subside the fear you have of approaching a financial planner.
Yes, I love what you both have said. And the basis of this is a financial plan, because a
Mm.
financial plan will address your individual needs. It will put a roadmap together for you to follow with your advisor up until the day that you reach your goal, or for the rest of your life, in effect. And I also just want to make another comment, and that is that people can shop around. Don't, if you go to a doctor and you are not happy with what they told you, you are always welcome to get a second opinion. And I
Yes.
also think that if you are not comfortable with the person who's giving you financial advice, go to someone else. It is, and it is possible, and maybe in some cases recommended, that you get someone that you trust, someone that you can walk a path with, someone who does the education, who does the advice and puts you first. Because I
Mhm.
think sometimes that is lacking. Now, we have really covered all the world's problems here today, I think. And we're not quite as close to solving them as yet, but I think we've made good strides. Any final comments from you, Luke, to the youth out there who don't know where to start and want to start investing?
Yeah, so I think maybe my parting shot on this is that I really think that you can make a credible difference with your how you choose to save. And I think having a change in mindset, not to spend the money that I have or to live a lifestyle that I can't afford or shouldn't afford, but rather to have a shift and to say, okay, how can I best save the resources that I have? And obviously partner with the right person along with those goals that I want to have. So I think that sort of mindset shift from one of spending to one of saving is so important.
I love that. I agree absolutely with you. Sometimes it is worth it to leave that, expensive pair of shoes on the rack, and I know that's difficult. Look at my for us women that is difficult. So yeah, and maybe save that 500 rand for something else. Mona, any comments from you to finish this conversation with?
For me, it's just basically making just being very careful with the information that you do take in, because even the internet itself is filtered. So not being blown away by everything you hear. Oh, I heard this. Okay, let me try that. Oh, I heard this. Let me try that. Um, One of the things that was mentioned today is the importance of a plan. One thing about a plan is that even if there are bumps along the road, the nice thing about a plan is that you've got the final destination. You can always reroute. But when you don't have a plan, you don't even know where to reroute because you don't know what your destination is. So don't be swayed by everything you hear, and learn to be present and in a place. Don't just listen to anything. That will help you a lot. Sometimes information overload is bad. So knowing when knowing when enough is enough, in essence. Yeah.
And on that parting note, I think this is where we come back to the theme that we spoke about today. And although we started with the ESG, with Mona's last comment, plan your wait, let me just go back
It's
to make
planning your
double sure.
life, planting your future.
Plan your money, plant
Money,
your
plant your
future.
future. Yeah.
That's correct. And this is exactly what we circled around back to. So even in the South African issues that we are experiencing, that our youth is sitting with, there is always a place for a plan to make sure that you reach your goals.
Yeah.
Thank you, Luke, and thank you, Mona. I think this was very valuable, and we will guide everybody again to www.fbimymoney123.co.za, where you can find lots of consumer education information, credible consumer education information from our professional members. All the articles that you'll find there were written by our subject matter experts. There's also that link where you can find your own financial planner. And should you be interested to book a workshop where one of our members come and explain all of this to you and a group of friends, don't hesitate. It is free. Please just let us know. There is a booking form on the website. Thank you, Luke, and thank you, Mona.
Only my pleasure.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.